Hi and welcome to SEVA 2020 Award Night Celebration Week. I'm Nabayo and today we're continuing with daily finalist announcements in preparation for Sunday's SEVA Award Night celebration. Join us each day this week at 4 p.m. right here on SECC Comcast 15 as we gear up for Sunday's virtual event. You can also stream and connect with us online at secctv.org and by using the hashtag SEVA Awards. Today we're announcing the SEVA 2020 finalists in the documentary category. This category includes videos of any length that give us an in-depth educational look at topics such as classroom curriculum, people and current events, or history, or any other educational topic. Let's take a look at this year's documentary finalists. In the K-3 documentary category, there's only one finalist, Florence Markoffer Elementary School. That was quick. We have a larger group in this next set. In the grades 4 to 6 documentary category, the finalists are 3D at our local library, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Anne Frank documentary, Creative Connections Arts Academy. Autism, Florence Markoffer Elementary School. Benefits of digital storytelling, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Charlotte's Gallery, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Dogs Helping Humans, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Growing Up Muslim in Sacramento, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Living with Dyslexia, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Ocean Animals, Herman Leimbach Elementary School. Sac Republic's Journey, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Benefits of being a student athlete, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Value of comic books, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. What a great variety of topics. Let's take a look at the middle school productions. In the grades 7 to 8 documentary category, the finalists are #MyStory, Henry Falconer, Catherine Albiani Middle School. Acro, Heron School. Bella Duranian, #I Can Help Conference 2019-2020, Catherine Albiani Middle School. I'm a Girl, What's Your Superpower? Sutter Middle School. Lack of Recognition, Winston Churchill Middle School. Our Planet Earth, Sutter Middle School. Stan Lee Tribute Documentary, Robert L. McCaffrey Middle School. Thanksgiving, Heron School. The Giving School, Andrew Carnegie Middle School. This is Dross, Sutter Middle School. Too Much Screen Time, Robert L. McCaffrey Middle School. UC Davis Math Circle, Toby Johnson Middle School. Another strong set of videos. Next up, the high school videos. In the grades 9 to 12 documentary category, the finalists are Automation and the Industry, Franklin High School. Conflict Mediation at Del Campo High School. Curtis Park Village Development Documentary, West Campus High School. Funding for Public Education, Franklin High School. Girls Rock Sacramento, Empowering Local Youth, Rio Americano High School. Kayaking to the Moon, Del Campo High School. Love, Hope, and Lifelines, Franklin High School. On Empty, Environmentally, Franklin High School. Police Brutality in America, Franklin High School. Rosemont High School, ECD, Rosemont High School. Run With It, Del Campo High School. The Heinzman Story, Del Campo High School. There you have it, this year's Student Educational Video Awards documentary finalists. Those were really short clips, but we got the full-length versions of each video ready to roll next. Don't forget about Sunday's SEVA Award Night celebration event, but for now, enjoy each of this year's documentary finalists, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. with our next category of finalists, right here on SECC Comcast 15.
Good morning.
Did you ever get to meet Miss Markoffer?
I did. I met her one time. It was about 1987, as I said, and we were having a 90th birthday party for her, and we had it in what was then the library, which is now the computer, one of the computer labs. And I took a videotape of the whole party, and I didn't get to really talk to her myself because I was videotaping, but she was having a good time on her 90th birthday.
What was your favorite memory about Miss Markoffer?
She seemed very, very nice, you know, very nice older lady that I'm sure she was proud of all the students that came to Markoffer, and she was proud that she had a school named after her.
Thank you for your time here.
You're very welcome.
How did you came to know Florence Markoffer?
The school I came to know because the superintendent sent me over here to be the principal at a winter break time in 1980.
What was Markoffer like when you were a principal?
Well, there were only 7 teachers and about 250 children. And at first it was mostly portables, and then they built the first building. And then, so I was here for 4 years. So when I left, the number of children changed from 250 to 500.
Did she come around the school much?
She did. She came every month. Do you know about the National Geographic magazine? Do you ever look at that magazine in your library? Well, she would read, took it in her home. She lived on Elk Grove Boulevard, not too far from here. She would read it, and then she would bring it over and put it in the school library so that you guys could read it. And she came every month. And when she came, she liked to visit the classrooms because she had been a first grade teacher many years before. So the 5th and 6th graders would be on their best behavior so they could get picked to take her around. She visited all the classrooms. She loved to see the kids.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. This is very exciting. I love this whole program.
Welcome to our studio.
Thank you. My name is Shelley Clark, and I attended Markoffer Elementary School from its first year that it opened in the fall of 1978. I was a 2nd grader, and until I finished up, I promoted to 7th grade after 6th grade.
Did you ever meet Miss Markoffer?
I actually did. Miss Markoffer, Mrs. Markoffer, she was actually, I believe, a widow at that time. She used to attend our school regularly. She attended all the 6th grade promotions, and I remember her being here on opening day. And I believe there's a picture of her in the background at my 6th grade promotion. I noticed that one of your questions was what is one of my favorite memories, and that was something I was going to mention. It was kind of unique in having the namesake be at your school, and so we all got to meet Miss Markoffer, and she was quite lovely. In fact, I believe Elk Grove Unified School District purchased this land to build the school, and I believe that's why the namesake of Markoffer Elementary came to be. My brother was a 6th grader when the school opened, and I do remember her giving money to the students when they promoted, and I don't remember if it was a $5 bill to each student or something to that effect. My parents would probably remember a little bit more because they're from the Elk Grove. They've been around in Elk Grove forever as well. I just remember her being a really kind elderly lady.
Welcome, Miss Bullard.
Thank you for having me, girls.
Was Miss Markoffer here when you went to school?
Okay, yes, she was. Now, do you ladies know where Elk Grove Park is?
Yes.
Do you know where that's located? Okay. Do you know where the entrance to Elk Grove Park is?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Across the street from Elk Grove Park, there's St. Joseph's Catholic Church. Do you know where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Next door to the church, there's this adorable little gingerbread house with a circular drive in the front. That was Mrs. Markoffer's house. So she would walk over and she would just walk through the classrooms and she would just look around to see what we were doing. So she was around all the time. She looks like the Queen of England. Silver hair, her little dress, nylons, open-toed sandals. She was everywhere.
What do you remember about her?
Well, Mrs. Markoffer was pretty fabulous in that she would like to congratulate every 6th grade student when they would promote on to Joseph Kerr. So she would attend every single promotion, and when they would announce our names, promoting to 7th grade, she would shake our hand. That's special.
Yeah. What did you think she would be most proud of us if she was still alive?
You know, I think if she were to walk Markoffer halls now, I think she would be amazed of our Markoffer staff, our Markoffer students. I think that she would be amazed of our self-awareness, how kind and responsible, respectful we are. And I think she would be most proud of this MN News crew, all of the tremendous work that everyone is doing, and how much it reaches the community.
Did you know you have access to a 3D printer at your local arcade library? Yes, that's right, a 3D printer.
This is one of only 2 libraries in Sacramento County that offers 3D printing. I'm here at the Arcade Library on 2443 Marconi Avenue to check out the 3D printers.
So the 3D printers are a piece of like a machine that prints three-dimensional objects.
So it'll take something that was originally created on the computer and turn it into a real, tangible object.
When we think about 3D printing today, it's actually, 3D printing has been around a very long time in different industries, but having the MakerBot Replicator Plus, like we do here, is the first time it's being brought to the consumer.
So they work by melting down plastic.
PLA plastic, it's a certain type of plastic that melts at about 215 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can actually melt the plastic at that temperature. It goes through what we call an extruder. It's like a little metal tip at the end of what we call a smart extruder in the printer. That melts out the plastic like this, like kind of like in a string form. And there's a fan as well, and the fan cools the plastic as it's printing. And the way things print is that essentially if I had my hand like this and I wanted to print it standing up, it would start from the bottom of my hand and go to the top. So it prints in layers going upward. So that's how the 3D printer prints essentially.
Until you get something like one of these skulls here.
You can print pretty much anything using a 3D printer. So a lot of people come in and they see it printing and they go, oh my gosh, like 3D printing is so easy. Like the printer, you just tell the printer what you want to print and then it prints it for you.
It can be a little challenging to start out with when you're going through the modeling process on the computer itself.
So there are a lot of issues that come with 3D printing. However, when it's done right and the design is correct and it comes out good, it's really rewarding.
Luckily, there are a lot of resources online where you can learn how to navigate those challenges. So definitely something that can be surpassed.
I think that's what's really beneficial about 3D printing and how advancements in technology are allowing us to bring that technology to the consumer, so we as the consumers can create things ourselves without relying on someone else to produce it for us to purchase.
I love 3D printers because they let you take something from your imagination and make it real in such a tangible way.
Well, the 3D printers are amazing, aren't they? Try to find them at your local library.
Tolerance. The dictionary defines tolerance as the act or capacity of enduring. Tolerance means acceptance. We can accept other people's religion, opinion, and choices, but history has shown us otherwise. A teacher by the name of Lisa Liss in the Twin Rivers School District did just that. Mrs. Liss taught a valuable lesson to her students in the community. The Holocaust was a time when tolerance was needed, and she is someone who would have been excellent for that time. Mrs. Liss thought it was important to know this. She talked to her class about going to the Museum of Tolerance, and they started collecting money. It took a while. They sold pizza, ice cream, chips, soda, candy, and even auctioned off a Nintendo once. This was so important to Miss Liss and the class that they did those things and so much more. Eventually, they had enough to go there, on a plane. Every child pitched in for the trip.
What did you like about the Anne Frank exhibit?
My favorite thing about the Anne Frank exhibit was the Band-Aids. I liked how every state donated thousands of Band-Aids to show their sympathy for 1.5 million kids that died, including Anne Frank.
What would you do if you were in Anne Frank's shoes?
If I was in Anne Frank's shoes, I would be more careful. I would not have looked out that window because that was what led for them to be found.
Some people express how they feel about history by teaching it.
Hi, my name is Christopher. I am a docent for the Anne Frank Museum in the 6th grade.
What do you like being about a docent?
You get to tour people around it, and you get to help people learn about this kind of stuff because it's important.
What do you think is the most important part of the Anne Frank Museum?
That everybody died, and you should know this because it's important to understand how bad Hitler's reign was, that it killed 7 people.
Hi, my name is Muriel. I'm a docent for the Anne Frank Museum.
What do you like being a docent?
I like telling people about the past and telling people more about what has happened, and I think it's pretty cool.
And some express their thoughts through art.
I would be terrified, and I would probably be as quiet as I could, but it probably wouldn't work out.
What's your favorite part of the Anne Frank Museum?
Probably all the information that the articles give and all the detail in the pictures and artwork.
How would you feel if you were in Anne Frank's shoes?
I would be terrified, and I would definitely be as quiet as I could, and I would probably not be able to sleep at night.
Anne Frank and many others represent a time in history where they were helpless against the Nazis. But these strong people show that it is possible to endure even the darkest times. Mrs. Liss and her students also show that. Give kids a chance to shine. Believe in them and they will show you the world. Once a tolerance kid, always a tolerance kid.
Hi, my name is Ellie. I have a big family. I have 3 brothers and 5 sisters. We like to play games on the computer together, have big family dinners, and enjoy each other's company. My favorite games I play with my siblings are Minecraft and Roblox. But did you know that 4 of my siblings are autistic? They are just like the rest of us and enjoy spending time together, playing games and having family time. My oldest brother Bryce, my second oldest brother Carter, and my older sister Allie, and my brother JD are all unique in their own ways, and I love hanging out with them. Bryce loves to listen to music, drinking chocolate milk, and he loves food. His favorite food is pizza. He likes Sesame Street. He has a lot of energy. It's really fun to be around. Carter also really likes food, Sesame Street, and relaxing. He enjoys watching random videos. He loves to eat popcorn. Allie is a great artist. She likes to play video games with me and my older brother JD. She's very good at editing videos. She's in 7th grade. She likes to watch animes and draw the characters. JD loves video games. He's a jokester. He likes Legos. He loves to eat sandwiches. His favorite candy is Hershey's chocolate. He's in 6th grade. They're just like you and me. Even though they are autistic, they aren't different from us. They enjoy doing the same things that we do, and they like to have fun with others. They are unique, and that's what makes them special.
Digital storytelling provides many benefits to those who are willing to try it out.
I was exposed to digital storytelling at a pretty young age. I've always loved making movies with my friends and watching behind the scenes of various different movies that I watched when I was growing up.
I was exposed in 5th grade in Miss Darrow's class, and I learned how to use a tripod, how to use a camera, and how to film B-roll and voiceover.
I teach media production and I teach computer exploration. My job is to expose them to as many different types of computer applications and programming languages that could get them ready for high school or get them ready for a job outside of high school.
So I work for the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium, and within the organization I am a production assistant. Basically what I do is I edit a lot of our video content, and I pull a lot of our video content down from our websites that we program for. Some skills that I have learned about digital storytelling are that with digital technology, there's so many possibilities and opportunities that a lot of people before our time didn't really have access to. So I think we have so many more opportunities than what used to be.
Well, now it can benefit me. Like, we do a news group in our school, and I'm in it. Like, it impressed the teacher that I knew everything I knew from 5th grade.
I think digital storytelling is very important in our everyday lives. A lot of us consume media and watch videos on the internet, so digital storytelling is just a huge part of everyday life now. And tips that I have for young people that want to get involved with digital storytelling is to just share your voice and start early. There's never too early to start, and you can always get creative and make something cool.
Students that want to get involved in digital storytelling, all you need to do is just tell your story. Your story is more interesting than a story coming from a teacher. It's whatever you think is exciting to you, that's what you need to share.
Well, definitely make a video on something you're passionate for. And it doesn't matter what other people think. Like, if you're passionate for it, then they should appreciate your passion.
They're learning skills now that they could use when they go into the workforce.
Most valuable takeaways from digital storytelling is the opportunity it gives you to share your messages and share your ideas with a broader audience.
Digital storytelling provides benefits to people all over the world.
So I got to thinking there are probably a lot of people like me who love to make things, a lot of labor, and they would probably be interested in joining me. Charlotte's Gallery is a nonprofit organization involved with people who are making things, and then we sell them, and that money goes to help children in our Sacramento County.
Mustard Seed School is an emergency school here at Loaves and Fishes. We're here entirely to help kids who are experiencing homelessness here in Sacramento.
We did craft shows, but we didn't make a whole lot of money. But then we partnered with a senior facility here, so there would be a lot of people who'd retired and might want to participate. And when we partnered with them, we became their craft program.
We are supported by Charlotte's Gallery, which has been incredible because we actually don't have money for a lot of the things that we might like to do for the children.
We didn't want to just give money to their general fund. We wanted to give something. So, for instance, we redecorated a counseling room for Mustard Seed. We bought curriculum materials. We bought bus passes for parents so that they could ride on the bus and get to Mustard Seed. So we've tried to always give money for certain things for Mustard Seed.
What Charlotte's Gallery does different than a lot of other donors is they really deeply listen to us and what we need.
All the people who make crafts really love to make crafts. They love to do that. And this gives people who love to do crafts a purpose. They're not just making crafts to store in a cupboard somewhere. They can sell them, and it helps somebody. So it makes you feel good that you're doing something productive to help somebody else that you really love to do.
Dogs play a very important role in human lives.
A dog is someone you can come home from a hard day and pour out your heart to, and they're just there to love you. They're non-judgmental. It's been proven that dogs can lower your blood pressure and help you to be calm. And you'll see that in a lot of the emotional support dogs that people have.
A dog is very important to many people. 20-year-old Alize Carlson knows how having a therapy dog can impact your life.
Several years ago, I was diagnosed with an extreme anxiety disorder, social anxiety and panic disorder both. So I found days became extremely difficult for me. I didn't want to leave my bed. I didn't want to leave the house. My dog became slowly a reason to get up every day. I get very anxious when I am alone. So when they're there, I feel better about myself. I feel better about the situation I'm in. Gives me reason to get up in the morning because days can be very hard to face, but I have something to take care of that relies on me, which makes me feel, no, I need to go do this because it's for the better of both of us.
Jill Moore has been training dogs for years. Let's hear about how service dogs help people.
Service dogs are different in that not only do they provide the emotional support, but they also provide specific tasks for people with disabilities. And that's what kind of changes them from an emotional support dog to a service dog. Service dogs, oh wow, there's a wide variety of different disabilities that they can help mitigate. Our dogs are trained that if a person has a nervous leg like this, the dog will come and lay their head on the leg and help the person to calm down. Or if the person is breathing heavy and maybe wringing their hands because of anxiety, the dog will come and interrupt that behavior and will help them refocus on the dog rather than on their anxiety. Service dogs provide so many different tasks for so many different people. It's just amazing. They come into our family, they're part of our family, but then I know eventually they're going to be going back home. And with the service dogs too, when you see the joy that they give to the person that they're going to be eventually in their forever home with, it makes it all worthwhile, and it helps that hurt of giving up the puppy when you see who they're going to go to and the tremendous joy that they're going to be giving to that new person.
When speaking to Aaron Miller at the Sierra Tahoe Ski Patrol, it is shown how avalanche dogs play a key role in safety at the resort.
So the search and rescue dogs go through a lot of training. They start coming to the resort when they're puppies, and they get used to things like chairlifts and snowmobiles and toboggans and all the people that are around that they want to say hi to. And then we start their search training. So they go through a lot of phases of search training, and they actually become certified. The dogs also really help us educate the public about safety. So everybody loves the dogs, everybody wants to come say hi to them, and so that's an opportunity for us as ski patrollers to educate people about being safe on the mountain. So we're really lucky at Sierra Tahoe. We've never had to do a search with a dog, but we have them ready just in case. We have had instances elsewhere in Tahoe where dogs have made live saves, which has been really amazing. They help us out because they have these senses that humans don't have. So they can use their nose to find somebody who is actually buried underneath snow, whereas humans would have no idea where they were. So we have special tools that we use, like transceivers and probes, but if people don't have those tools on them, we're unable to find them, and that's where the dogs come in. The dogs can help us a lot, and they can find someone very fast, which can be, a matter of life and death, honestly, if someone's buried. So they're super helpful.
It seems quite clear that dogs can impact people's lives greatly and have done a good job of it.
Growing up in Sacramento as a Muslim American, I have seen people make incorrect assumptions about Islam. I reached out to several Muslim Americans in my community to help me bring awareness about our faith.
My title is Executive Director of CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, Sacramento Valley and Central California office. And our role is to be an advocate on behalf not of only the Muslim community. We started our roots in the Muslim community back in 1994, but now we've evolved to be a civil rights organization that serves people from every background.
I am the education reporter at the Sacramento Bee, and I have been in Sacramento for almost all my life, about 30 years, and I'm a pretty active member in the Muslim community.
I am the senior imam here at the Tarbiyah Institute, so I am the religious leader of this community.
I helped start the Muslim Girl Scout organization that we have here in Sacramento many years ago. And part of the motivation around doing that is that I have a daughter, and at that time she was in kindergarten and ready to start in the Daisies.
Sadly, untrue stereotypes displayed throughout social media have negatively impacted Muslims for decades.
So I grew up here. I moved from the Bay Area, that's where I was born, and around the time when we first moved here, I was going to Elk Grove Unified School District, and the U.S. had just started war with Iraq, the Persian Gulf War, and my family were Arab American, and that was really difficult as a really young kid. I was like in first grade, and I think I was trying to understand my dual identity of being American and being Arab and being Muslim, and not quite understanding that those things are not opposites. They could exist together. You know, Elk Grove was very different than what it is today. It wasn't as diverse as it is today. My mom at the time was not wearing hijab, and then I think when I was around in 5th grade, she started to wear hijab, and things really changed. People treated us differently. We had neighbors that stopped talking to us. I was a Girl Scout. People wouldn't open the door for me anymore. Certain neighbors that just didn't want to be our friends. And I think that was a really harsh reminder to me as a kid that not everyone likes you because you're Muslim, and some people weren't afraid to show it.
So for Muslim youth, you know, the bullying that takes place, the negative coverage in the media makes young Muslims reflect on their faith, and a lot of times shy away from their faith or their identity. Some of them want to just change their names or just are become ashamed of who they are based upon this coverage. And so, unfortunately, we've seen, you know, an increase of depression amongst Muslim youth. We've seen young Muslims are twice the national average likely to get bullied, and especially young Muslim females, especially ones that wear the veil, where we've seen many cases where the veils get pulled off of them at school.
and especially as a Muslim growing up here, we see a lot of the reporting in the past has been in a negative light. So it's important for us to show the positive impacts our community makes.
Here we believe in empowering the youth, and so we do a lot of school bullying work. At the same time, we run a youth leadership program at the state capitol where we help the youth understand the legislative process, to understand the media, to get to meet elected officials, and have a voice and realize that young people also have a stake in what's happening all around us, and they have a voice and they have some great ideas. And so we bring in elected officials, they get to meet them and they get to talk about their ideas and solutions. And then we run community organizing programs where we teach young people how to organize in their communities, how to phone bank, how to canvass, and how to make sure that our community's voice is heard and how we can make a difference.
I'm also appreciative of those times where things weren't that easy, because it taught me how to be resilient. It taught me to speak up for myself. I've experienced and witnessed things that happened to my parents who were immigrants to this country, and I've seen them stand up for themselves. And I think it always made me want to stand up for what is right. I am the type of person, if I saw someone being bullied, like another, an immigrant or someone, with a disability, I would speak up for them.
We had a case where a young girl, 10 years old, she decides to put on the headdress. Her mom's not Muslim, her father is. She decides on her own to do it. And then she's a popular young girl at class, in school, and then all of a sudden she starts getting bullied. And it was pretty traumatic for this young girl. So we asked her, said, we'll help you out, we'll go to the school and we'll talk to the administration about how to resolve these issues. And then we asked her, are you willing to testify? We have a school bullying bill at the state legislature, and to see if she was interested in coming to testify about her experience. So this young girl came to the state capitol. She went to the assembly committee hearing. She spoke about her experience. She had elected officials in tears, and she helped pass it out of committee. And then same thing on the Senate side, and then eventually the governor signed the bill.
What does being Muslim truly mean to our community?
Islam is basically when you surrender yourself to the teaching and instructions of God. You become part of His creation, part of His universe. You do His work. You become a gear in the engine. And so commitment to the Islamic faith basically makes you in harmony with the universe around you.
Whether I'm a convert or whether I was born into the religion, Islam is a religion where one is to be God conscious all the time.
Muslims care deeply about social justice, fairness, treating everyone with kindness, and we hurt, we bleed, we want justice the same way that everyone else wants.
So many people of faith believe in God, and so the Abrahamic faith, which is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, come from the same source, which is the Prophet Abraham. That's who we're all connected with, and the messages is the same. So there are some theological differences, no doubt, but the majority is going to be very similar.
One of the things as a convert that has been the strongest impact for me is that when I came to Islam, I didn't come from a religious background. So the biggest challenge for me, or the biggest change for me, was to actually have a faith in a higher being.
At this time where there's so many challenges in the world, people of faith and people of every background should come together to address these challenges.
I think it's really important to have representation in the media.
Muslims pray 5 times a day, but why?
Muslims pray 5 times a day. So 5 times a day, we take a spiritual break, we stop what we're doing, we get away from our computers, our phones, and we just have this 5-minute, meditation session.
When you've prayed towards a certain direction all your life, and you're getting to see that place, and then the instant your feet touch the ground, everyone that's around you is focused on the same thing. They're not caring about their bills. They're not caring about everything else that's going on, your day-to-day work. Your whole sole focus is on worship. The biggest one would be when I went for Hajj, or the pilgrimage, the 5th pillar. And going there, I had the opportunity to go with friends back in 2004. The deepest moment for me then was one time we were in prayer, and this is in Saudi Arabia in the desert. We were in prayer, and it started to rain. Light drizzle, it was cool. Then it started pouring. And by the time we finished our prayer, the water was up to our ankles. And this is in the courtyard, and we were, like, I think it was about 4 rows in from the Kaaba. But the fact that everyone around you is so focused on their worship that it doesn't bother them, and they're just at peace. And it was a warm rain, so it was nice. But it just was this, yeah.
You know, they say when people know a Muslim, their attitudes towards the faith and Muslims in general becomes much more positive. And I just tell people, get to know a Muslim, go visit their houses of worship. Anyone, you don't have to call in, you can just go on a Friday to a mosque, whether it's Salam Center here in town or Tarbiyah or many others, and just go and visit and just see what they do at the mosque and what they talk about, and you'll see that many things they talk about are similar to what other faiths talk about.
Islam is not what people incorrectly assume it is. These are not the unfair stereotypes shown elsewhere on social media. This is the truth.
We live in a really different time now because, you know, diversity, you know, California's always been really diverse, but not certain parts of the Sacramento suburban communities. And I have been so grateful to see that change over the last couple decades, and it's been amazing, and I'm happy to be here, still living here, because I'm able to compare what it was like then and what it's like now.
You know, they say when people know a Muslim, their attitudes towards the faith and Muslims in general becomes much more positive. If you have a Muslim classmate or a neighbor, talk to him, ask him questions about, you know, what their faith is about and all that. And you'll see that there's so many things that are in common with every faith tradition.
Dyslexia affects the part of the brain that understands language, making it hard to read and write.
It looked like all the words were like all mixed up, and like it looks like words are super long, and I didn't know what they're like meaning.
Dyslexia is neurological in origin. Originates in the brain.
In 2nd grade, I noticed that I couldn't read like everyone else. I couldn't really write. And one night, I was trying to read a book, and I asked my mom, I was like, why can't I be normal? Like, why can't I read or write?
But it affects your academics because so much that we do in school is language-based.
In math, when I would have like a word or like a question with like words in it, it would be hard. I would have to ask the teacher to help me with reading the question or like numbers in like word form.
I learned an approach called the OG approach, and it's the Orton-Gillingham approach. In my class, I pull out pieces of that program and I teach them to a small group, something called BED. So students can just use that like BED, how to write, because those get really confused. The brain is working. It's like on a slower path. I want to help get that slower path kind of over to the highway.
I started working with Mrs. Sprinkle around like 2nd grade to 3rd grade, and like she taught me a lot of tools to help me read and write.
Tyler had his own binder that he and I set up together, and in that would be the sight word study method. And part of the sight word study method is using tapping along your arm, moving down, repeating, but using your body and not just saying the word is the, T-H-E.
She helped me break up words, use like syllables, knowing like vowel consonants, knowing all the vowels, like knowing what they mean. Silent letters were a problem for me before working with Mrs. Sprinkle, because like when I would see like a PH, I didn't know what that meant instead of meaning it F.
would give him the rule for that. Then I would give him a bunch of examples so that we could check and see, okay, what is the closed syllable? When he would come to class, it would be, what is a closed syllable? And I would repeat it every single time until I was like, oh, he knows that. We're moving on. We would practice on those small skills, because when you get in and you start reading and writing, you have them in your brain and you're like, okay, I've got this.
Overall, dyslexia is complex, but people are able to overcome it.
I've had a lot of great teachers. Dyslexia isn't a challenge for me anymore. If you have dyslexia, keep on trying your best and everything will be okay.
In order to experience this video, close your eyes and remove any distractions. Hello, I'm Constantine from Markoffer Elementary School. I am in Miss Swift's 6th grade class, and this is my SEVA's 2020 ocean presentation. The ocean is a mysterious place with mysterious animals. There are places like the Bermuda Triangle, which is packed with many tales and myths about monsters and mermaids. But today, we are going to be exploring the deep sea. The sea is cramped with many creatures that lie at the ocean floor with fluids that we didn't even imagine. So let's start at the top of the ocean. This part of the ocean is about 200 feet deep, known as the lightest part of the ocean. The name given to this part of the ocean is what some call the sunlight zone, or the epilithic zone. The sunlight zone has animals like dolphins, sea turtles, stingrays, sea lions, jellyfish, blue whales, and big-eye tuna. These animals are mostly seen in the sunlight zone. Now let's move on to the twilight zone. This place is 1,000 feet deep. If you take the Eiffel Tower and put it in the ocean, it would be the same depth. Quote, the Eiffel Tower is 984 feet tall. These animals are mostly cat sharks, crabs, krill, and squids. Now we're entering the depths of the midnight zone. This place is so deep, if you put the Burj Khalifa in the ocean, it would be twice the size, give or take. The midnight zone is 4,000 feet deep. Typro fish, sea cucumbers, eels, shrimp, black swallowers, and vampire squids live in this zone. The abyssal zone is 9,800 to 19,700 feet deep. Anglerfish, deep-sea jellyfish, deep-sea shrimp, cookie-cutter sharks, and Dumbo octopus survive in this area. These animals have strong bones and skin to withstand the pressure of the deep ocean. The last and final zone is the trenches zone, with about 20,000 feet deep. This is about the size of Mount Everest. The animals that currently live in this area are giant spider crabs, Atlantic wolffish, fagoon fish, six-gilled sharks, and giant tube worms live in this deep area. With all this information, only 5% of the ocean is discovered. You don't know what animal could be staring at you, ready to strike while you are swimming. So what if you were an animal? What zone would you live in? You can open your eyes now. You made it to the end of the video. Hope you liked it. Goodbye.
To become an MLS team, how long do we have? Do we have like a couple hours, 3 hours, 5 hours?
The drive to bring the Sac Republic into the MLS has been a great community unifier.
You know, the journey started like many things, just with an idea. And this started back in, I think all the way back in 2012. As the story goes, Joe Wagner, Sean Morrison, Jeremy Field, a few others, you know, were literally talking in their backyard about this idea of soccer. And that idea, you know, got to paper and got to investors, who wanted to fund this and also believed in the idea, and community leaders, right? People that worked at City Hall or the mayor, the city council, others, which are all important, and most importantly, the fans, right? And talking to fans, just out there, whether they're playing soccer or watching their kids play soccer on a Saturday or watching a game on TV.
Anytime there's a big business transaction like that, it's very complicated. And at some point they hit some roadblocks. So I came in over the course of 2 days and mediated back and forth between them to actually keep the deal together.
And after the team launched, through focus groups and everything else, finally the team had its first game in 2014, right? That was the big coming out party. And guess what? The next game happened, and 21,000 people showed up again. And the next game happened, and the next game happened. And everyone started to realize, like, how, not just how amazing this was, but just how meaningful it was in Sacramento.
It's a place that is inclusive, it's a place that is welcoming, it is a place that is friendly, and it's a place that's becoming increasingly dynamic.
I do think, early on there was this vision for MLS. I think everyone needed to see this play out, right? To take an idea from our heads to writing down on a piece of paper. And until you start to bring those things together, and then people get to see, and that's why that first game was so important to be successful. You play that out over, that was the 2014 season, and do you want to know how that season ended? It ended how you hope all your sports teams end their season, which is winning a championship. And then 2015 and 2016, and now we're about to embark on our 7th season, and it's amazing to see what's happened. And through all of that, there was this idea of, like, hey, can we join the very, very top league in North America and the United States, which is Major League Soccer. I think fans are always the most important aspect of every sports team, right? Like, it's not a cliche, that's what it's all for. We could play, we can have a great team, but if fans aren't there to celebrate it, to cheer loudly, to come together, then what are we doing anyway? As we talked about, the name Sacramento Republic FC came from the fans.
In October of 2019, we were able to make the big announcement that the deal was done, and now it's time to start building the stadium and to look forward to 2022 when we launch Major League Soccer in Sacramento. In the end, the city is going to contribute about $30 million worth of infrastructure for, the roads and the pipes and the sewers and all of that for the adjoining development, which we would want to do anyways because we want to see more development there. But that helps our private investors. But they're contributing the lion's share. I mean, they're in for $200 million in terms of a franchise fee, and then about $300 million or so to build the stadium. So in terms of, it's largely a private investment, but the city is helping with the infrastructure. We're also providing them some of the revenue from the signs that'll go up instead of us having the revenue. And that's the way it should be. And yet we're partners. And again, I helped in many ways along the way, both seen and unseen.
So a true team effort in every way. And it's a rare opportunity to get to build a sports franchise in the city, in your hometown, right? Which it was for me and others.
It's such a growing and dynamic place. And soccer is a great example of it. I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we never would have been in line for such an opportunity.
But what had happened was people had understood this amazing movement in the community to bring us together around this sport that everybody plays, regardless of your color, your background, what your parents do. It's something that kind of unified us all.
What I love about soccer is that it does require a lot of skill, but it is also available for young people of varying skills. You don't have to be great. You just have to want to run around and be part of a team and learn the technique and kick the ball.
It is really hard for me, and I think for a lot of us, to put in perspective what this means for Sacramento and for our city and our region that we love. when you drive or when you're in your self-driving car in 10 years, and you drive by this downtown that now has a soccer stadium and a new hospital and this amazing development and this downtown that's vibrant, that brings people together, like I said. I didn't have that growing up in Sacramento, but you will. And regardless of what you do, or you move out from the city, and hopefully you always have a tie to it, and maybe come back, and I hope that we have more smart, driven people doing more for the city and taking it, because it doesn't stop there, right? It's like, well, what else can we do? How can we make this even bigger? How can we make Sacramento stand out for its amazing food and agriculture and sustainability and beautiful trees and, again, diversity that comes together? Like, there's so many things that we can celebrate here, but each of those takes big ideas and big people, right? And driven people willing to do that. I mean, that's just the storybook ending.
Today we're going to discuss how being an athlete can help a student academically.
In my family, I'm fortunate to have a lot of positive role models that have shown me how being an athlete can help provide advantages in the classroom.
I have been a student athlete. I guess I was a student athlete my entire academic life.
I went to college at UCLA, and I went to medical school at University of California, San Francisco.
Both my uncle and grandfather have excelled academically while succeeding in their athletic careers.
Graduated from Princeton University.
I ran track in high school and junior high, and I ran the 100 meters, 200 meters, and the 4x1 relay. It allowed me to have more self-esteem.
The effort that you put in on the field, on the court, really can reflect and positively enforce what you do in the classroom.
Sacramento State Athletic Director Mark Orr knows what it takes to succeed as an athlete while also thriving in the classroom.
Well, the first expectation I have for athletes is that they do well in school. So we expect our students to do their homework, to study, to prepare for tests, to do their reading, just like they would if they were preparing for a game or a competition.
Sports teaches you it might happen. You'll win some and you lose some. But the purpose and the point is to put your best foot forward and know that you gave everything you had and that you can learn from the lessons that will happen.
Sports teaches many lessons.
Playing sports teaches you work ethic. It teaches you being able to perform under pressure. It teaches you on how to communicate and be a good teammate and be a good and understand sportsmanship.
Right? You're going to be in situations where you have to make decisions quickly, and that's the beautiful thing about sports, is that it teaches you all those lessons and how to move quickly and use what you've learned to go forward.
Sports is a tool. It's a tool that can teach you lots of life lessons, but it's not the end-all be-all. What you do in the classroom and what you do, how you treat people, how you are with your family, your friends, that's the most important.
Some people have the misconception that you can only be skilled in sports or academics, but not both. My relatives taught me that this is not the case. So remember that being a student while being an athlete is possible.
When you pass by a comic book storefront, you might think of Marvel or DC. However, if you take an opportunity to peek inside, you might learn that comic books hold value beyond their well-known labels.
So if you're a collector of comic books, there's obviously the new stuff, but then there's years and years of history behind these things.
My uncle recently gave me his collection of comic books. To me, they mean more than just the value, but the imagination and thought that was put into these comic books. Let's see what he has to say about comics while he was growing
Growing
up.
up, it was something that I would look forward to getting my comic books, because we go to the PX. Every time we go shopping, I could pick out a comic book. What I really liked about it is just is the artwork and the imagination, you know. And comic books would take a lot of older mythology and take pieces of that and then kind of new urban myths.
So I think there's probably an era and a character for everybody out there. If you look hard enough and you dig deep enough, you're going to find something you like.
The stories are interesting, and the artwork is it shows imagination.
A lot of people usually think that old comic books are only cool because of their value. I think that they mean much more.
If you're collecting things that you like and it actually goes up in value, you can consider that a bonus, because it's a fun hobby. It's a fun hobby to follow the characters that you like and the books that you enjoy collecting, and that's going to give you a lot more joy than trying to pursue the dollar value of a book.
It's more for the entertainment than for the money.
The evolution of comic books also means a lot to me because it's amazing to see how far they've gotten, like Marvel or DC.
Yes, Marvel Comics was still the fairly young company compared to DC Comics, and they were kind of like neck and neck there for a while. Marvel caught up and surpassed them, and they've been the big player in the industry for a long time now. It's very impressive what they did in a very short time, really.
It was popular, but not nearly as popular as it is nowadays. And you see all these movies that they've made out of it, and they've taken a lot of these storylines that you know were being developed back then, and it's taken all that rich material and put it into these pretty spectacular movies that they've recently made.
Hi, I'm Henry Faulkner, and I've been in a lot of musicals.
I've been in a total of 6 musicals. All that I know is that I started in 4th grade, and that was the year that I did Wizard of Oz for Sunrise Elementary School. I have been in The Wizard of Oz as the Scarecrow. I've been in Flat Stanley as Flat Stanley. I've been in The Jungle Book as Mowgli. I've been in The Lion King as a hyena. I've been in Mary Poppins as Bert, and I've done Seussical Jr. as the Cat in the Hat. My favorite musical that I've done so far is probably gonna have to be Seussical Jr. that I did with MMP, because I played the Cat in the Hat, which is a very fun role. Being in musicals has changed my personality probably in a very positive way, because it's learned me to be a lot more open to a lot of my friends, and it just overall helps me to just interact with people more.
I'm Henry Faulkner, and this is my story. What's your story? If you know anything interesting about yourself that you want to share, visit Mrs. Hills in MC6. Bye!
Is you're working with a partner, you're on one event, and you are divided into 3 routines: balance, dynamic, and combined. Balance is you're doing your skill and you're not moving a lot. Dynamic is you're like jumping up in the air, you're throwing, you're doing a lot of things. And combined is like all of that in one routine.
So doing
ACO a year and a half ago. I started in the middle of the season. Well, not in the middle of the season. I started a little bit before they started doing a lot of hard work from gymnastics. So pretty much a year and a half ago. I practice 3 days a week for usually around 9 hours a week. Practices are kind of stressful. Going there is kind of stressful, and then your coach comes and you're just like, I'm screwed. And then they tell you to something fun, and then all your stress goes away. My coaches are the hardest thing to work with. We do about 1 to 2 hours of conditioning, and then we have 1 hour for skills. Doesn't really make sense to me. They are very hard to work with, but I love them. During practice, I warm up, usually condition or stretch or tumble, and then I go with my partner and we do skills for about an hour. I work with my partner Ellie. She's about 9 years old. Sometimes I work with Dakota and Ellie, and we do trio. A pair is 2 people. People call it a duo sometimes. And you're working with, one other person. And a trio is you're working with 2 other people, and it's 3 people pretty much. And you are usually in either the element of here or here. I'm competing. Yes, I do compete. I compete level 7 women's pair, and it starts February 8th through 9th. Things I'm doing during meets and competitions are hang out with my friends and make up these random routines from the music we hear from the background, or buy some food and just eat, or sleep. I try to sleep, or I cheer on the other groups. The favorite part of competing is seeing all my friends that I text and being able to represent my country throughout other countries. My least favorite part of competing is you're about to walk on the floor and your stomach just explodes. Your corrections that your coach has been giving you is just gone. You are just blank. And once you get used to it, once you end at the end of the routine, you're like, I did it, yes. But mostly just stress. I compete about once or twice a month. And it starts usually around January, February, and ends around March or April. The favorite place I travel is Vegas because it is one of the biggest meets, and it's my favorite. The one travel competition is either New York or somewhere around probably Hawaii or really anywhere, or Canada. I think I've gotten about 2 injuries, one from my ankle and one from my knee, where I was holding my partner and she literally fell and my knee went that way. But I think I only sprained it. It wasn't that big. Any tips for people interested in ACO is probably pick a good gym and always love your partner and never, ever, ever feel like if you don't like your partner, you need to speak up and say something. Otherwise, you're stuck with them for about a year. And if you really need to quit, or if you really don't like it, you can always go to gymnastics if you weren't in gymnastics before. But I do suggest going to gymnastics and then going to ACO.
My name is Bella Duranian. Going to the I Can Help Assembly really gave me a big push. A push to want to be like the inspirational teen presenters who are traveling and sharing their messages of how they're changing the world, one kind idea at a time. One person I heard speak was a famous YouTuber I'd actually watched and loved. I want to be like him, producing films, making people laugh, but above all, being a positive role model and influencer for our generation. When I'm older, I even want to become a director, and this conference made me realize my dreams can come true. For the present, the speakers who launched movements like Tampon Tuesday or Blue Lollipops are now worldwide known and loved. Our school even handed out blue lollipops and recognized Tampon Tuesday. Not to mention, I got amazing Facebook and hashtag I Can Help merch from going there, but that really isn't the point. The point is that I learned all these people are where they are now because they believe they can do it. They did it, I can do it, you can do it. Thanks, hashtag I Can Help.
Hi, my name is Gianna Solari. I asked a series of questions to a group of women of a variety of ages about women empowerment, self-confidence, and body image. I wanted to see the similarities and differences between their answers and if age had something to do with their perspective. This is my SEVA.
Dea Angelo, and I'm 8.
Caroline Leonard, 17.
Jenny Darnell, 46 years old.
Joe Harding, 78.
Pam Usanti, and I'm 66 years old.
Emerson Van Rees, 10.
Erica Torrey, 43.
Diane Hamlin, 76 years old.
Miley Van Rees, 13 years old.
I would say I'm a serious person and a very intuitive person in my personality.
Cheerful, a little active and kind.
I think I'm pretty outgoing and like funny and just pretty easygoing.
An introvert, I'm kind of a loner. I like people and I like to be with people, but I also really value my alone time and my solitude.
Funny and nice.
Outgoing introvert.
I like the fact that I'm devoted to my family and my kids.
I really like my eyes.
That I get a kick out of myself.
When something's hard, I practice until I get it right.
My ability to be humorous, to laugh.
I don't really love something about myself, I just like how I am.
I love that I am an active person with my family.
I love my energy. I love my creativity, probably most of all.
I'm very self-conscious about a lot of things, but I guess one of my favorite things is probably my hair.
I like that I'm naturally pretty athletically built and thin.
I think I have really pretty feet.
That I'm shapely.
I like my hair, I like the color of my hair.
No, not really.
Maybe my hair. I wish I had thick, bouncy, gorgeous hair.
Now that I'm getting older, I'm a little softer than I used to be.
No, I kind of like my body the way it is.
I always wanted to be taller. I always wanted to be crazy, 6 feet tall.
I dislike how tall I am.
My waist shape, I feel like it's weird, and I feel like I always stand really weird.
Perhaps longer legs would be great. But my body is fine. It works, and I'm glad for it.
My mom.
I really admire my mom.
Probably like Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey.
Close to home, my spouse, my daughter, my granddaughter. Not so close to home, Nancy Pelosi and Gloria Steinem.
Currently, I admire Sister Vianney.
I kind of look up to my sister.
I'm kind of on a Ginsburg kick right now.
Right now am admiring my stepdaughter, Sarah Hamlin.
Definitely Alex Morgan. That would be a very big role model for me.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
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 I think that word has kind of a negative connotation to it, so I prefer to call myself a peopleist.
I believe in equality for women, for sure. I don't know that I would describe myself as a feminist, but I do think there's certain things that are safer for men. For the most part, yes, I think men and women should be equal.
I don't know, I really like that I can have kids because I love kids.
Being open to things.
Everything.
I think typically like women are more of a caregiver type person, and I think that's pretty amazing.
I don't see many men have so much fun as we women have.
The love and empowerment that happens, and like when we all come together, it's just really cool. No.
I don't really find too much difficult about it, actually.
Sometimes I think being compared to like society's image on women is really challenging, especially when you're young.
I don't really know.
Periods. Definitely. Number one, definitely.
Oh, wow. I really don't feel anything is difficult about being a woman.
I think that we accept responsibility for house and home and family and work, and I think that there may not be enough hours in the day to be able to do all of it gracefully and easily.
No, but there's been people that have made fun of like my friend, like said that boys are better than girls to my friends.
Yeah, I was treated, when I was in college, I had an internship with a company, and instead of getting my paycheck at work like the other men at my work, I actually was told to go to my boss's house and pick up my paycheck, and he came to the front door in a towel.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yes, I have.
Actually, it's funny. I had a grandmother, Grandma Lucille, and they lived out on a ranch, and she was just a different type of woman. But she, like, in her world, you know, I helped with dinner, my brother helped with yard work. When we would eat dinner, then my brother got to go in the front room and watch, you know, the game with my grandpa while I had to do the dishes because I was a girl. And from a very early age, I knew that was so incorrect.
Kylie and Emily, they're my friends.
Definitely my mom.
Probably Ava, my daughter.
My daughter, Sarah, and my spouse, Carol.
I would say my wife, Lori.
My sister.
My daughters, and then my mom and my mother-in-law.
Probably my sisters.
Probably my mom or my sister.
Well, I think the image of women is like really changing, and I feel like it's a lot more open, like the opportunities that women get, especially in like jobs nowadays.
I think my mom pretty much had a lot to do with my upbringing, and her comments were a lot of comments, and I tend to say this sometimes with my own daughter, but just like to be ladylike and that girls don't do certain things, you have to sit a certain way.
I think that girls should be able to do whatever they want.
Well, growing up and then later in college, I feel like I was expected to get married and have children, and that would be my life.
Definitely, my mom has taught me a lot about how anyone can do anything they want.
I don't think so, because I feel like women are pretty strong and they're pretty underrated compared to men, so I'm glad that I'm a woman.
Not really, no.
No, never.
Yes, when I was a young girl and kind of struggling with my sexuality, I wished I was a little boy, or I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I had the body that I should have.
No.
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 No, I don't remember ever talking about that openly, about being a woman.
Sometimes it's mostly self-guidance, but definitely my mom or like my grandma.
I would say my mom definitely helped me, but for the most part, it was pretty much me just figuring it out on my own because, I don't know, I just not really someone who likes to ask for help. So although my mom did help me, I kind of like to figure things out on my own.
My mother was a nurse, so she was very academic about it.
Yeah, totally. My parents loved to talk about that stuff. They had like these books, and you had to read the books together, you know.
To make things fair.
Like proving people wrong, like doing something even when someone says I can't do it.
Probably to fly because I tend to be late.
Be able to walk through walls and walk through one place into another and be seen if I wanted to and not be seen if I didn't want to.
I would like to fly.
Invisibility.
Handle a high level of stress.
I would fly.
It's for everyone to be heard.
Winston Churchill Middle School, home of the Bulldog. It is here where bright-eyed students come to learn each day. However, there is a problem faced in all schools in the Sacramento area. The staff here, who put so much work into their jobs, are underappreciated and taken for granted by the students who are on campus on a day-to-day basis. Today, I visit Winston Churchill to interview the principal himself, Mr. Givens, to have understanding of the struggles and hardships the staff here have to face on a daily basis. This is right outside this office. Let's go ahead and get to the interview. Hello, Mr. Gibbons. Today I have a few questions to you about the staff here at Winston Churchill. But first, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Calvin. Appreciate it.
So first, what is your story? How did the events in your life lead up to you becoming principal at this school?
I started off and became a teacher at a middle school in Las Vegas. I grew up here in Sacramento and always appreciated the teachers that worked with me and kind of helped me along the way. So when I became a teacher, I did that for a number of years and then moved back to Sacramento, and I was looking for a teaching job, but I had just gotten my master's degree in curriculum, and so ended up getting a job at the district office in another school district here in Sacramento. And a mentor encouraged me to become a school administrator and said that the real energy and the real excitement is being at a school where the kids are at. So that's what kind of inspired me to become a school principal.
Well, now that you're an administrator at school, how is your day-to-day life? What issues and tough situations do you have to face on a daily basis?
Every day is kind of an adventure. I never know exactly what I'm going to be working on any given day. I'm working with teachers, I'm working with parents, I'm working with students, and I'm kind of almost like a emergency services personnel. I'm always kind of helping out with things that I didn't know I was going to need to help out with. Sometimes students have conflict, sometimes there's things that happen that need to be fixed. Teachers need help with technology, the building needs some maintenance issues, and then we're always planning our curriculum. Especially as an IB school, we're really focused on trying to bring in international focuses at our school, and so the community service program and all of those kinds of things play into what I do on any given day. And working with our other administrators, Mr. M.A. and Mrs. Siva, We meet a lot during the day to talk about different areas that we're working on.
What little things do you do every day that helps the community and campus thrive with its culture and how people act there?
I think, the little things that we do are just being out in the hallways and being out at lunchtime and before school and after school, doing a lot of supervision. Every day, Mr. M.A., Mrs. Sliwa, and myself are usually out at lunch, watching kids, talking with kids, hearing about any problems or ideas that they have on how to make our school better. Even just picking up trash around campus, trying to make sure that we're leading by example and showing pride in our school and helping other kids understand that we have to take care of our school and making sure that kids are getting to class on time and that they have the supplies and information they need to be successful.
Are there any particular staff members or portions of the staff, like departments, that you feel are under-recognized by the student body as a whole? And what do you think students can do to help appreciate the staff members here who put so much effort into their job more?
I think our teachers and our staff are incredibly hardworking. Almost everybody that works here at Churchill has a passion and a desire to help students, and they want to help inspire them to be better, and they want to help teach them so that they can reach the goals that they have in life. I think that there are so many things that are done that aren't seen and aren't recognized. The countless hours that teachers spend reading assignments and grading assignments and creating lesson plans and working on projects and meeting with each other. We have a tremendous amount of successful academic teams here that have hours and hours of time that our coaches and advisors put in. We have clubs, we have coaches, and so small groups of students get to see that work, but a lot of it goes unrecognized and unseen. And so I would say that, again, a lot of our teachers and our staff do it because they're passionate about it, not because they're getting paid a lot of money.
Well, do you have any final thoughts? Is there anything I missed during this interview?
I think you did a great job. I think that, working in education and being a teacher or a school administrator or an instructional assistant or a custodian or a cafeteria worker or a front office worker or a counselor, these jobs, they come with a lot of extras that people don't always see, but they are all incredibly important to making sure that our school is successful.
Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Givens.
All right, thank you.
I learned something crucial from the interview with Mr. Givens, that everyone on staff is important to the symbiotic relationship of the school campus. Today, I have an interview with Mr. Billingsley himself. Hello, Mr. B. I have a few questions for you today. But first, how are you?
Marvelous.
Well, to start off, what is your story? How did you come to become director of BTV and head of running 10 classes here at Winston Churchill?
Well, it's the second career. I was over 30 years as a journalist in newspapers here in California and around Sacramento. I worked for the Sacramento Republic for almost 20 years. Then worked for the state for a while once the economy suffered a meltdown in 2008, but realized that state work wasn't for me. Teaching's always been in the back of my mind. I'm back at my credential, working on a master's. I've been here for 3 years.
Well, now that you're here at Winston Churchill, what struggles do you and your other teachers have to face on a daily, weekly, monthly basis at your job here as a teacher?
I think the biggest struggle is just being able to get kids to focus, to learn that this is work, much like they're going to have it work as a career later on when they get older, when they graduate from high school, and that they need to pay attention because the habits they're making now are going to follow them for the rest of their life. I don't necessarily think that we're underappreciated. I think the teaching profession in general is a very hard job. Nobody's in this profession to make money, to be rich. We do this because it's rewarding when we do make that connection with the student, when we do see the light bulbs go off. You can't put a price tag on that. It's part of giving back, part of being part of the community. I love being able to impart the knowledge I've gained in my careers, in my past life experiences, and give that to everybody else in middle school who's just starting to realize their full potential and what they want to do with their lives. That's an exciting thing to be around on a daily basis. opposite of that. Very simple.
Well, thank you for your time, sir. That should be it. In conclusion, I have found from this interview that from Whitney Elementary to Miraloma High School, staff all over Sacramento exemplify effort and hard work in their jobs to make the experience of school as quality as possible for the students involved. And as such, we as students should appreciate the staff, from teachers to administration, more for the hard work they do every day to make our lives better.
Our planet Earth. This has been a great decade. The past 10 years from 2010 to 2019 have been full of memes, joy, and childhood memories. On a more serious note, the Earth is dying.
We have been making our planet worse by deforestation, hunting, and overfishing.
Not only that, but the world is going through pollution, and billions of carbon dioxide is going through the atmosphere. The Earth provides many things to us.
It gives us food, air, resources to develop civilizations today. Most importantly, it's our home.
What can we do to help the Earth?
Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Cut down on what you throw away to conserve natural resources and landfill space.
Conserve water. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater that eventually end up in the ocean.
Shop wisely. Buy less plastic and bring a reusable bag. But if you do buy plastic, recycle and don't litter.
Don't send chemicals into our waterways. Choose non-toxic chemicals at home, work, school, or anywhere.
Educate. When you further your own education, you can help others understand the importance and value of our natural resources.
Plant a tree. Trees provide food and oxygen.
Help today and clean up our Earth.
Hi, I'm Josh Colors. I'm a middle school student. And as part of my SEVA video, I'm going to be doing a tribute art on the topic of this documentary, which is Stan Lee. Stan Lee's original name was Stan Martin Lieber, and he was born in New York City on December 28th, 1922. His parents were Romanian immigrants Celia and Jack Lieber. He also had a brother named Larry Lieber. With part of his childhood spent during the Great Depression, Stan and his brother watched their parents struggle to support the family. His mother was a stay-at-home mom, and his father was a tailor, and the small income that he earned was reduced even further. After he graduated high school at the age of 16, Stan began searching for a full-time job to support his family. He started as an actor for the WPA theater program, but in those days there was no money in acting. He then got a job opportunity as an office assistant for a publishing company then called Timely Comics. Timely Comics was founded by Martin Goodman, who saw the success of comic books and thought he would give it a shot. Martin agreed to let Stan work small jobs as an office boy, such as getting the workers coffee and proofreading the workers' writings. In 1941, Stan got the new job of writing text fillers for the Captain America comics. He found the new job embarrassing and renamed himself Stan Lee, so that when he became a professional novelist, he would not be associated with the comic industry. Later in that same year, the creators of Marvel Comics, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, left Timely Comics due to disagreements with Martin Goodman. As a temporary solution, Martin offered the job of editor to 19-year-old Stan Lee until he found a new adult to work the job. Martin never actually found another person for the job, so Stan remained as editor for a long while. In 1942, Stan was forced into military service due to the start of World War II. He was shipped wherever someone was needed, and he wrote training films and drew awareness posters. During this time, he was still writing comics. When Stan returned from the war in 1945, he resumed his post as editor, art director, and head writer of Timely Comics. During a chance meeting, he met and later married Joan Clayton Brucock at the age of 27. They had a daughter in 1950. Also by 1950, Timely Comics changed their name to Atlas Comics. Stan still wrote comics for them, but claimed it was very boring and nothing near his dream. The publishers also said he could not infuse any creative extras into the comics. Stan decided to quit and leave the comics industry for good. But after talking with his wife, he decided to give the comic industry one more chance. He wrote a comic the way he wanted to write it, and tried to publish it with the help of Atlas Comics. With DC creating the Justice League, Martin Goodman asked Stan to create a super team to compete with them. Stan then created the Fantastic Four, deciding that it wouldn't hurt as he was going to quit anyway. With the help of Jack Kirby, who rejoined the company, the comic did wonderfully and people loved it. With the Fantastic Four, Stan had created a new type of character. He introduced characters with flaws to make them more realistic. The success of the Fantastic Four comic prompted a name change for the company, so Atlas Comics became Marvel Comics. This began the revolutionary change of the comic industry. With the help of Jack Kirby, Stan created a whole new line of comic characters that people loved. In 1962, the Hulk and Thor were introduced to the world. One day while sitting in his office, Stan saw a fly on his ceiling and thought of a superhero who could stick to walls. Everyone hated the idea at first, but with a little persuasion, the world got Spider-Man. He was released in 1962 and was the most successful character in Marvel Comics. In 1972, Stan Lee became the publisher of Marvel Comics. When Stan became publisher, he was too busy to write stories, so Roy Thomas took over. In one of Spider-Man's storylines, it pictured Peter Parker's friend Harry as a drug addict, which was against the comics code. Stan Lee ignored the censorship and published the comic anyway. The comic was a huge success, which caused the comic code to later be revised. In 1998, Stan and Marvel signed a contract giving Stan 10% of whatever his characters made in movies and TV shows. In 2002, Stan Lee sued Marvel for $1 billion, claiming that he was not given his fair share. In 2010, Stan received a Medal of Arts honor from President George W. Bush and launched his own History Channel show, Stan Lee's Superhumans, which focused on people with unique and remarkable skills and abilities. In 2011, Stan received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Stan lost his wife at the age of 70 in July 2017. Sadly, we lost Stan on November 12, 2018, at the age of 95. I wanted to do this video to inspire people. I myself am greatly inspired by Stan Lee. He beat the odds and ended up creating a universe. His story is one of the greatest to me. The fact that he was able to work his way up to the CEO of the company and never retired is so amazing to me. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you not only learned something today, but feel inspired to keep creating no matter the odds.
Every year, my family journeys to Tucson, Arizona to visit our family for Thanksgiving. We usually spend about a week there, doing a fun activity each day. Some years we drive 14 hours to get there. This year, we're flying on an airplane. It takes a lot of packing and preparation to go anywhere with my big family of 5. We need to pack our bags for a week, take our dog to the dog sitter's house, and organize our packing. Flying in a plane to Tucson, Arizona takes about 2 hours. It's all worth it in the end, though. After all, family is everything.
Thanksgiving means to me a lot because we get the family together and I get a chance to say thanks for all the good things that I get during the year.
It means a time to get together with my family and visit people I don't normally see. It means traveling. Some years it means driving, and sometimes it means flying.
It was time for all of the family to get together, and sometimes it's not blood family, it's friends that are like family. So we have a lot of friends that we get together with. So it's just a good time for good friends and family to be together.
My favorite Thanksgiving tradition is to see how many people fit around my big table, which looks really small after a while.
My favorite Thanksgiving tradition, probably the turkey. I love having turkey for Thanksgiving. That's a good tradition to have. And just having all the family together as well. And our apple pies we always have from Apple Annie's.
Well, we have this big tradition where we make this big trip all the way down to Arizona. And that's been really fun to see my side of the family, which I only get to see once or twice a year. Let's see. Another tradition that I like is getting out and playing some kind of football or some kind of a sport.
Okay, this house is busy because there's a lot of this, it's being held at this house. There's a lot of food being made, a lot of good smells and bad smells because sometimes it combines and makes a weird smell, but it's very busy. We have a big table that's usually really full with food.
The house is very busy, and in the kitchen, a lot of people are bustling around getting food ready for the meal.
Well, my wife decorates for the holidays and for Thanksgiving and for the fall. She always decorates with fall colors and different things that go along with fall.
Okay, well, the different foods that I eat on Thanksgiving, they're actually different than some people because I am on a keto diet, so I don't eat carbohydrates. So I will have turkey, but other than that, I can't eat some of the things that other people have, like stuffing and mashed potatoes. So my wife actually makes me a special kind of cauliflower mashed potatoes and a special kind of cranberry sauce with no sugar. And that's pretty much what I eat.
There's always the turkey, and lately we've had the special potatoes because it's made out of cauliflower. And the bread, love the bread.
So the way the meal is prepared when everyone gets together, it used to be I did everything because a lot of the family members had babies, and so it was hard for them to help. So I used to prepare all the food and get it done for everyone. But now the way we prepare it is kind of like a potluck. So I handle the turkey, the stuffing, and the potatoes and gravy, and then the other family members pitch in. So then I have more time to concentrate on my food, the stuff that I'm in charge of, and more time to play.
What food do you look forward to each year?
Mashed tater tots.
Mashed potato?
The potatoes. The mashed potatoes are my favorite.
I like to eat mashed potatoes and gravy.
Happy Thanksgiving!
So why do you give to your students to try to make them feel important and special?
These kids are incredibly important. They are our future. They need to feel loved and supported. They need to feel that I believe in them. They need to feel like they can make mistakes. They need to feel they can grow. And part of the way I connect with them is treating them like my own kids and then treating them like my students. So special treats and special recognition and lots of praise just so that we have a real relationship, and then we can struggle through the academics and celebrate our successes, and when we make mistakes go, and keep going.
What are some ways you try to support your students in the class?
I really like to do what I call my classroom store, in which the blue tickets that we earn for good character also count as cash, and they can literally earn a ton of cash and then go shopping from working hard, showing perseverance, being kind, taking initiative, and all the character traits we want. And then I also really believe in homework prizes. You need to celebrate. You brought your homework, you did it, you tried, you got it in on time. And so we sometimes have candy prizes. I'll get prizes donated to the local store. Some of the kids like to donate things, and it's just a really positive recognition recognition of you did it, you were getting your homework in on time, so that they learn to internalize this and then feel that pride in getting their homework done.
It's really our entire community, our staff, the volunteers that support our school, and our support staff, our family members, admin, teachers, everybody is really just there to help anybody. But at Christmas, it seems like our students, many of them don't have the same opportunities as everyone. So instead of being a joyful time of year, it's not so fun.
Can you please explain a little about the Sky Crest Giving Tree?
I send out an email to all of our staff and ask if there are any kids that they think their families might be struggling for the holidays. Then I call the family and ask if it's okay if we support them. And if the family says yes, then I make sure that every kid in the family is put onto the list. So once I get approval and we fill out a tag, and I had our parent liaison filled out the tags for me, I mean, it's a team effort, and fill it out. They get a family number. We write a tag for their shirt size, their pant size, and a toy, and it goes on to our giving tree wall. We had 176, and actually we just had another family today whose house was broken into, which we added on, and we had a student who had fire that we helped serve. This year we had 20 turkeys donated, and our staff also, that we did a big box that they just put all of the sides for, so we were able to give 17 out for Thanksgiving, and we saved 3 for Christmas. So it really is the entire community coming together to make it such an amazing, generous event.
It feels really great to have a teacher like Miss Murray around the holidays, because giving is the meaning of Christmas, and that's what she does.
It feels good because sometimes my mom can't afford to buy stuff for Christmas.
Like, if I make a mistake, she'll help me in a good way.
Because even if we do it wrong, she still makes us motivated. It's okay if we get it wrong, because we still gotta try.
We'd like to give a special thanks to the Skycrest staff for being kind and generous to those in their community. All it takes is one word to make someone's day a whole lot better. So be that person and be kind to others. Drew, out.
This is Dross, a band of teenagers committing their time outside of school for their band. After discovering their common interest in creating music, they work together to form Dross.
Our name Dross just basically means absolute garbage and, just absolute trash. Initially, we thought it just sounded cool as a name, and then we looked up the definition, and then we thought it was fun, so we chose it.
We write progressive rock. It's an inspiration of what Tool does, because it's pretty much all of our favorite bands. Maybe we can add in a little metal.
Biggest influence is probably Tool, given that the first ever song we played was one of theirs, and we've just kind of been playing their music.
Of course, the members of Dross had to start from the bottom. Before forming the band, the members had to decide what instrument to play and how to play it.
I was actually 6 when I started playing the guitar first, and I kind of wish I stayed at that. But I'm glad I do drums, because since, it spreads diversity over the instruments that we all play.
I started learning guitar by taking lessons with Andy about the same time, about 2 years ago. Well, about a year and a half ago. We just started in his garage, and eventually we just kept going, and now we don't take lessons, but we just kind of learn by ourselves, but that's how it all started.
The members of Dross are very close friends. Just how did they meet?
So I met each of the bandmates a little differently. Diego has been my neighbor since when I was born, so I kind of just got to know him when I was little. Andy I met him at school, at Crocker in about first or second grade, I think. And then Sammy, I knew him at middle school, but I wasn't friends with him, but I ended up making friends with him freshman year of high school. And then we all kind of, since I had already been friends with Diego and Andy at that point, Sammy kind of came into our group and he was fairly similar to us. He had a similar sense of humor, so we were able to make friends with him.
But Dross didn't know they were going to become a band from the start.
I had already been playing guitar on my own for like about a year and a half, maybe around 2 years at that point. Diego kind of started playing a little after me, after I convinced him for a while to get started, and then after Diego started learning guitar, Andy started learning bass. And then so we all kind of played our stuff already. Then we met Sammy. He told us he played drums. He didn't listen to the same music as us, but then once he started listening to the same music as us, then we just, when we were hanging out as friends instead of as bandmates, before we were really doing anything musical, we just kind of started jokingly playing, and then before you knew it, we were actually playing real music.
As a growing young band, they're finding ways to spread the word about their music.
We started spreading the word about our band like this summer. We created an Instagram page, and we started posting some recordings of us playing. And we'll probably just, on our individual accounts, we'll probably shout out the band page. And since we have a lot of friends at school that know about it, they also spread the word like that.
As a band that's just starting off, they share their advice on how you can start a band of your own.
Basically, when you want to start a band, you want to make sure that you're going to become really close friends with them. Just make sure that you guys are comfortable around each other. You can make jokes, you can mess around, because obviously, when you're in a band, it doesn't revolve around your life. Okay, you have other things to do, like of course schoolwork when you're young, and other family time. So just have fun, basically.
With the members of Dross being so young, they give thanks to their parents and family members that have helped them along the way.
I think most of the support from our band comes a lot from our friends and family.
All of our families, if they're not musical, then they are supportive of music, in that none of them really see our band as like a waste of time. They enjoy seeing and hearing us.
I'd just like to thank all of the parents of our band members, because they're really helpful and really supportive.
This young and hardworking band shows how you should try everything. And when you find something you like, find people who have the same interest, work together, and work towards your goals.
Hey Ace, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You want to go outside?
Not right now.
Why not?
Trying to get the high score.
You've been doing this for a while now. You sure you don't want to go outside?
No, I think I'm okay.
Whatever, Ace.
Man. I really should play Julius. Man. What are they playing? Hey, Julius.
What's up, Ace?
Can't play with you guys?
Oh, are you done playing with your video games?
Yeah. Throw me a pass.
Technology is all around us, providing us with almost everything. But along with the pros, there must be cons.
According to Google, because children's brains undergo so much damage during their formative years,
this excess screen time can be even more damaging. With this, you can also experience your eyesight deteriorating, your wrist, thumb, and elbow straining, problems with sleeping, your social skills getting worse, obesity, and problems at school.
Staring into a screen for extended periods of time can cause computer vision syndrome. Computer vision syndrome is when you go through uninterrupted periods of time on a screen and the eye muscles being unable to recover from the strain due to lack of adequate sleep. Research shows that between 50% and 90% of people who work on a computer screen have symptoms of computer vision syndrome.
Aside from the obvious link to violent behavior, these skills dictate the depth and quality of personal relationships. Here's what some of the research says. Sleep problems. Although many parents use TV to wind down before bed, screen time before bed can backfire. The light emitted from the screen interferes with the sleep cycle in the brain and can lead to insomnia.
Ugh, so hard. Math is difficult, and I'm not the only one. According to a 2019 study by the National Center of Education Statistics reported that only 41% of fourth graders and only 34% of eighth graders were proficient in math. But why are we so behind in math?
In American classrooms, there's a lot of emphasis on the steps. Teachers will teach you the steps for how to solve a problem, and students start trying to memorize those steps. So I think what happens is we turn math into an exercise in memorizing steps. You know, a lot of good students get very good at answering the problems that are in the book, but they can't apply their knowledge to other problems, and they tend to forget those steps the further they get from their math course.
I decided to do math because I was good at it in school, so I was like, might as well do it. And then I realized that it's a little bit different when you get to college. It's more challenging, and I think that's something Math Circle tries to do to help you realize that, you know, math is different. It's not just computational stuff.
The UC Davis Math Circle and Junior Math Circle are programs that teach kids how to think about math as a problem to be solved instead of just a list of steps to remember.
Math Circle challenges me to do different things that I don't do in regular math, like thinking out of the box or using strategies to get the answer I want instead of using a formula. It was pretty hard because I kept on getting stuck in making mistakes.
Math is a sort of training of you think analytically and how to think about problem, not just calculation. So this is what I see the main point of having her attending Junior Math Circle, because you can see different kinds of problems. It's not just about calculation.
Even though Math Circle can greatly benefit students, many students struggle in the beginning.
She couldn't understand, she didn't know all the answers. And we talked about it, and this is supposed to be fun, something for her to explore more about math, and that was what she really wanted to do. So the second week, same way, she did not want to go.
In the beginning, he felt it was very hard, and he doesn't want to go. And in class, I think he did not participate, and when he come out, he just want to go home.
I feel like I'm just gonna explode, and I'm rolling on the floor, and I'm lying down, and I feel like I can't do anything. Kind of overwhelming, because there were a lot of people, and I didn't really know that many stuff.
And the first class, as soon as I came in, I saw her after class and I asked her how was it. She started crying. It was so hard for her. And she was sure she's the only person in class that doesn't know anything, and that she's the only one who couldn't answer any of the answers of the question. And she just said, I don't want to go there ever again.
And then we came back a week after a week. When it was getting close to toward the end of the session, one day when I picked her up, she said, "Wow, Mommy, I could answer the question." And I raised up my hand and answered it. She was so excited. So after that, we decided to continue.
We do the problems together at home. And then starting about 1 year later, Daniel started to want to do the problem. And recently, to my surprise, he asked me, can we do math circle problems? And I told him we already finished this week's homework. And he was like, "Aw."
In first year, they were shy, they almost didn't participate in anything, and you could not recognize them on the second year. Suddenly, they start flourishing, okay? When it gets into them just drop by drop, then the tower builds. And finally, in 4 years, you see completely different people.
So there's also a concept in psychology called desirable difficulties. And it turns out making things harder means you actually learn them more deeply. Things that you learn and you experience as very easy, often you won't remember them for very long. Things that you experience as really hard, you may not think you learned a lot, but then later it turns out those are the things that you retain.
The struggle that comes with Math Circle is what makes it so beneficial to its students. But what creates this struggle?
But you just don't know where to start, and you have to either keep trying it or you can find some other way to do to get the answer you need.
What makes this program so special is because these problems usually aren't really asked because they're really complicated and fun.
I never really experienced it before, so it was new to me, and new things are hard because you don't know you don't know how to do things.
One of these new problems, presented around Halloween, was hard and frustrating to many students.
Ghost plus ghost equals house.
G was a number, H-O-S-T. They were all different numbers, and you had to find out what all the numbers were.
They really stretch beyond what you really see in the classroom setting. So in those settings, problems are new and they can be hard. So exposing kids to these more interesting problems can stimulate their problem-solving skills and help them to formulate new ideas that they may have not seen before.
The problem earlier, which had like an equilateral triangle and a hexagon, how do you find the area of the hexagon? So this kid just drew a picture of it and he just said, yeah, it's just 6, like by the given data. And we didn't have to use any formula to do that. That helped me gain new perspective that you don't need to have the formula all the time. You can just see the picture and do it.
Math isn't just a list of steps to be memorized or a series of formulas to follow. You don't need to be a math person to understand how math works. Programs like Math Circle can help students to understand the concepts behind what they're learning instead of just memorizing formulas, and help them become more proficient in math.
Today's world is faster, more connected, and more influenced by technology than ever. For better or worse, it controls almost every facet of our lives. But a new kind of technology is running rampant in today's world: automation. But what exactly is it? Automation is the use of primarily self-operating equipment to streamline tasks. For decades, the widespread adoption of machines concerned the public, who feared oppressive robots would strip workers of their jobs. A typical factory in the mid-20th century looked like this. While robots weren't very popular, some companies had begun to employ the first rudimentary automatic systems. Fast forward to the present. Robots are being used everywhere, from automated call centers to performing surgeries to manufacturing cars. These mechanized arms are a common sight in factories all around today's world. The problem? They're completely unmanned, powered solely by artificial intelligence. Some would call the adoption of automation the dawn of a new age. Others deem technology a threat. The robot revolution. But what truly lies ahead? With technology's continuous integration into our lives, many are quick to label automation a net positive to society. However, with the unfavorable consequences outweighing the benefits, the use of robots in the workforce should be closely regulated to ensure worker prosperity. To most corporations, why not switch over to a machine? With recent developments in artificial intelligence, robots can learn and make decisions for themselves, steadily becoming more capable and cheaper than human workers in the long run. From automation alone, an estimated $15.7 trillion will be added to the global GDP by 2030, a boost of 14%. This increase is mainly attributed to the machine's operational costs only requiring a fraction of the money a salaried worker is paid. Alongside drastic increases in profits, robots boost time efficiency and productivity. In 1900, the average workweek was about 70 hours. By the 21st century, however, significant use of mechanization and automation would cut that number to 40. Furthermore, by 2025, robotization would boost productivity by up to 30% in many industries, and lower total labor costs by 18% or more in the world's biggest exporting countries, such as the United States, Germany, China, and Japan. Finally, while not a full compensation for the lost jobs, many industries can implement automation while still creating careers.
There are always going to be other positions available that people can train for.
But really, you're competing with other countries around the world, so you may protect them here, but in other countries, they're going to try to produce their products as cheap as possible. So if automation is the key, that's something that they'll do.
This is especially true in China, which has been at the forefront of automation and artificial intelligence technologies. This warehouse is a service center built by one of their largest online retailers. Do you see it? Or rather, do you not see it? With complete automation, the factory is devoid of life. No workers, no humans. This is the JD.com Lights Out Distribution Center, run solely by machines day in, day out. Who's to say companies in America like Amazon won't adopt similar technology? To some employees, automation is threatening to their future role in the workforce, and they have ample reason to be worried.
Right now, obviously, we're not at the level where we can automate certain specialized types of jobs, but I think still autonomy is a threat to a substantial part of working class people in America.
Even Elon Musk, billionaire and CEO, expresses his concerns for a future filled with artificial intelligence.
AI is a fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization.
Many others are hesitant on allowing machines into our workforce.
We all have to be thinking about not just new industries, but also the millions of workers, many on the lower end of the economic spectrum, who could have their jobs or ways of life disrupted by AI.
By 2030, Oxford Economics estimates that 20 million manufacturing jobs across the world would be displaced due to automation. The United States is a significant part of that trend, with more and more companies implementing robots to speed up production. The Oxford Economics Robot Vulnerability Index predicts that the states at the highest risk of labor disruption include Oregon, Texas, Louisiana, Indiana, and North Carolina. Robots aren't just invading the manufacturing industry, they're also beginning to enter the service sector. With advances in artificial intelligence, robots will break into the healthcare, retail, hospitality, transport, and construction industries before we know it. Automation where robots handle personal information poses a concern for the privacy of consumers.
Oh yeah, there's definitely risks to security. I mean, anything that's connected to the internet, provides the potential for people to be able to access those pieces of equipment.
The biggest question is, how do we address this eminent issue? How could we experience the benefits of automation while still exercising caution?
There's actually a lot of rules and laws that still need to be created, right? Because we still don't know fully how AI will affect everything.
The robots should work alongside workers, not in place of them. There needs to be a balance between the potentially endless benefits and disastrous social dislocation that will come with automation. This is the challenge that our future president would have to solve.
And the biggest challenge for your new president, when we think about how we're going to employ more people here, is going to be Also, technology.
Forward-thinking, proactive solutions need to be developed. Whether a rebuilding of America's infrastructure or innovative welfare programs such as the Universal Basic Income, something must be done. The first step to combat this predicament is to strictly regulate the implementation of automation, keeping workers a priority so that society can evolve to tackle the robot, before the machine evolves to tackle the man.
Not only do high schools teach thousands of students every year, but they also provide a space for teens to interact with one another. While this is mostly a positive experience, social conflict will occasionally make its way into everyday life. This can create a lot of stress and anxiety, since not everyone knows how to deal with these situations. At Del Campo, a conflict mediation group is available on campus for students to help resolve any conflict they're experiencing.
Essentially, it's a program for our junior and senior students. They get to apply and interview, and once they get selected, they get trained as conflict mediators. And it's an amazing program. So what it is, so if there's students, like two students that are out there having issues with each other, and it's going to potentially ruin their friendship or stuff on social media, and it's now blown up, and they're like, this is affecting me, it's bothering me, I can't focus on my schoolwork, whatever the situation is, they can sign up or be referred for the mediation program.
As part of their training, mediators participate in monthly education sessions with Mrs. Acosta and Mrs. Del Russo, another advisor for the program.
So the initial training session includes trying to just teach all the students the same vocabulary that we might be using about how to be an active listener, how to introduce yourself, how to set the ground rules. So it's the structure of the sessions, but as well as the content. And then we have cards and guidelines that they follow so that it's always the same. It's not just random come in and talk to someone, but there is a structure to it. And so they're learning the pieces and components of the conflict mediation.
The way that it works is we have two students that are in conflict, and we select two of our trained conflict mediators. There's no staff in the room, and they go through a whole process that they've been trained in, and they help the students resolve the issue. Sometimes it's like maybe they agree not to be friends anymore, but they're cool with each other, they've come to some agreements, they sign a document and move forward. So it's just a nice positive intervention to assist students with a wide array of any issues that they're having with each other, and to help prevent it from escalating, from getting to a fight, from affecting them even further. So we're currently working on building the program, getting more referrals in, getting our program spread so more and more students and all staff are aware of what the conflict mediation program is. But it's definitely student-led.
One of the best ways to deal with a problem is to address it directly, and this program is giving students that option. Not only can it help change the perspectives of those directly involved, but the mediators themselves are benefiting from the experience.
Being a mediator is really beneficial for me because I'm learning a lot, both about how I can improve my skills as a mediator and help other people reach a solution when they are disagreeing, which helps me in turn whenever I'm disagreeing with someone, and I can think about my actions, what I'm thinking, what the other person might be thinking, so I can solve a lot of the own disagreements I'm having in my own life. And as well, I'm being exposed more to the culture here on campus and what types of problems people are having, and I'm just becoming more aware of what's happening for students on the campus.
Conflict mediation is beneficial because you get to work out your problems with each other and your own peers, instead of administrators just suspending people right away or just writing up Saturday schools. You actually get to find the root cause of problems.
Not only does the program offer a positive experience, but every person in the meetings is asked to keep what is discussed confidential.
Beautiful on both ends. So it's neat to see the students who need help feel some success and feel some resolution from it, and it's neat to see the mediators grow and learn from the experience too.
Conflict mediation at Del Campo is a truly exemplary program that shows how positive of an impact recognizing and addressing social issues can be, and its goals should be shared throughout other schools in the country.
This is Curtis Park Village. It's 72 acres of controversy and toxic waste right here in Sacramento, California. These 72 acres used to function as a Union Pacific Railroad maintenance facility until it was shut down in 1985. After 1985, the land was left undeveloped because of the amount of time and money that was going to be needed to remove the arsenic and lead left behind by Union Pacific. It wasn't until 2004, after Union Pacific did some of its own toxic waste removal, that Paul Petrovich became interested in purchasing the land for redevelopment. Paul Petrovich is best known for lots of development projects around Sacramento, including the shopping center at 19th Street. 4 years after the purchase from Union Pacific Railroad, in June of 2008, Paul Petrovich and his development company announced plans to redevelop the 72 acres. Plans included 267 single-family homes, 45 compact housing units called brownstones, a senior living facility, a shopping center, and a community park. However, it wasn't until 2012 that the land was clear of toxic waste and ready for redevelopment. On April 8th, in 2014, Phase 1 of the project was completed. Phase 1 included the opening of the main street called Crocker Drive, along with street lights and utility cables in the ground ready to be developed upon. In November 2016, more elements of the project were completed. This included the opening of the senior living facility and the completion of models of the single-family homes and brownstones. Also, the bridge connecting Sacramento City College and the development area was completed. After 2016, development drew to a halt. This is because there was major disagreements between Paul Petrovich and his development company and city officials and local residents. The main argument was over Paul Petrovich's promise that Safeway would be the anchor store in the shopping facility within the development. Paul Petrovich argued that Safeway, for it to be profitable against other grocery stores in local neighborhoods, had to have a gas station. City councilmen and local residents believed that the gas station was unnecessary and would only cause congestion and traffic within the development. Since Paul Petrovich and his development company halted all construction within the development area while this argument was going on, it became a place for people to walk their dogs, for homeless people to camp, and for people to ride their bikes or crash them. The specifics of the argument over the gas station aren't terribly important. However, all you need to know is that the lawsuit between the city council and Paul Petrovich has gotten heated and personal since 2015. The lawsuit is still ongoing today. Sometime in 2017, Paul Petrovich and his development company decided to cut losses and start construction on the Safeway store in this retail shopping center. They did this to ensure that they wouldn't lose Safeway as an anchor store within the community. It seems as though Paul Petrovich and his development company have decided not to waste any more time or money waiting on the lawsuit over the gas station to work its way through the courts. These houses behind me weren't here 2 to 3 months ago, and more houses are being built all around. As for the future of Curtis Park Village, I know that the houses and the community park will be completed, and that space has been left for the gas station next to Safeway. Only the lawsuit will be able to tell us if the gas station will ever be completed.
Schools across Oklahoma are closed today for a third day as teachers continue their strike demanding more funding for education and increased pay.
If I had one additional tax dollar, one of your guys' dollars to put in education, I would put it into high-quality pre-K.
Expired in June, even seeking the help of a federal mediator. They made one last-ditch effort to
one of the most polarized debates in our already polarized nation.
Thousands of educators from Arizona helped lead the nation walking out of their classrooms.
And how much attention they're giving to education, and do you think it's enough?
It's the 2019-2020 school year, which means more than 100,000 public schools will be reopening its doors to welcome kids back from summer break. However, public schools are struggling with a lack of funding and shortage in supplies. Public schools are funded largely by federal, state, and local sources. The federal government contributes about 8% to funding U.S. public schools. While state taxes make up a majority of that funding, local property taxes make up nearly half of those funds. However, this system creates large differences in funding between impoverished and wealthy communities. When the recession hit in 2008, many schools that were heavily dependent on funds from state governments were vulnerable to the effects of the recession. In response to rapidly declining property values, local courts increased tax mileage rates, which increased state revenues and local revenues from property taxes. Fast forwarding a decade later to the 2018-2019 school year, public schools received a total of $97.2 billion in funding. A major step forward in the right direction has been made since the unfortunate circumstances that swept America, allowing children and teens to broaden their education. We caught up with Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education, Craig Murray, and questioned him on the changes the educational system has been through.
I believe that we need more funding in California education. I know that the government's done more in recent years, particularly since the Great Recession, to fund schools in a more sufficient manner, but we still, with rising costs and other obligations that the district has in a society that has increasing costs, it is not sufficient to do what we need to best serve our students.
Despite overwhelming support for the funding of public education, many argue that giving more money to school raises already high taxes. Some also believe that giving schools more and more money does nothing to teach them about proper budgeting.
Educational reformers argue that the sky is falling and we have to reinvent public education.
However, many teachers disagree with this notion.
The mission for schools is changing. Going through the normal education process and teaching people how to read, write, and calculate, I think used to be the traditional mission. Right now, there's more of a emphasis on making sure that we're reaching out to people that need extra services, and I think that that's when we're underfunded. I think we're funded to do the traditional education that public schools have had in the past, but we don't have the funding in order to do that outreach, to do the home visits, to give extra resources to students who need extra resources.
Restoring school funding should be an urgent priority. Spending cuts at the state level can have serious consequences. It can force school districts to raise local revenue or scale back on educational services. When asked about things that had to be cut back, one maintenance and operation worker of the Natomas Unified School District told us of the changes he's seen in the educational system.
I think the one that pops to mind that has changed over the years significant would probably be how much money is allocated towards the athletic department. A lot of teams, whether it be football, basketball, any sports, or even band, or the arts or drama departments, are stuck having to do a lot of personal fundraisers to help either pull through the seasons and or even attend band tournaments or buy equipment.
Besides funding for art programs, the money can also be spent on technology for schools. Introducing various new learning tools can have a drastic effect on children. Many students are already engaging with technology constantly outside of the classroom, so it's important that we use this to help educate as well. Education is the foundation upon which we build our future. It's imperative that we provide students, along with teachers, with the resources to educate the next generation of leaders.
My name is Larissa Brisky. I'm the Executive Director of Girls Rock Sacramento.
I'm Lily Ross. My name is Francesca Serrano.
What is Girls Rock Sacramento? Well, most people would say that it's a rock music camp for girls, but it's much, much more than that.
Girls Rock is a lot of different things. It will change your life. So during the camp, you get there, you kind of get used to the feels of being around everyone, and you're put into a band with a bunch of people. If it's your first year, you might not know everyone. My first year, I knew no one in the room.
We have guitars and drums and amplifiers and bass rigs and microphones and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of rocking out that happens.
The good thing about it is that you don't even have to have any musical experience. You learn the instrument, you get put into a band, you write your own song in a week, and then you perform it at Ace of Spades, which is amazing.
Almost all of the volunteers that are affiliated with Girls Rock Sacramento are female. Professional women in music make up only 14% of the total. I know your mouth is open right now. It's not enough, right? The music industry is and always has been, it still is to this day, unfortunately, male-dominated.
It's very important to include women in the music scene to show how powerful and strong women are, because we've been fighting for rights in music for so long, and we continue to strive for it, and we will, and we won't stop.
It's important that if we want to strive for equality and equity in this world, that we represent that in the music industry.
Girls Rock has made me a lot more confident in my work and writing songs and being able to perform especially. I've learned so much, not only from the people working there, but from my peers. I've learned more about the importance of women in music, and it's just an incredible organization, and I'm so, so lucky to be a part of it.
What's her name?
It is Flavia.
You want to sniff? Do you want to sniff?
Will you stop licking my arm? Thank you. I'm a guide dog puppy raiser, and being a puppy raiser means that you're raising them from start to finish, which includes training them from the basic commands that they need to know before they go into formal training for guide dogs for the blind.
My emotions regarding guide dogs and raising guide dogs with my family is a very uplifting and moving experience. We've been volunteering with the organization for approximately 7 years now.
There's a lot of excitement, and then some excitement diminishes when the reality hits. You have a newborn, and so that newborn needs lots of attention, care.
Highs are, when you see them make their accomplishments and they reach their goals, and then finally, ultimately, when they graduate. And the lows are only solely when it comes to the concept where you're kind of sleep deprived.
Nothing really prepares you beforehand. I'd say you definitely have to be confident with yourself. You definitely have to be patient. I think the hardest thing that everyone understands is that we can't keep these dogs, and
It is pretty hard. The first one's always the hardest, I'd say, or whichever one you get the most attached to. The first guide dog I had was Moon. She was just very consistent about her commands. She was very relaxed.
Very pleasing, very food driven, and really wanted to work. She had a working spirit about her.
She had no care in the world. She was not scared of anything at all.
She was a worker bee, but also knew how to just be affectionate and enjoyed her quality time with our family.
She was the smartest dog I've ever had. She picked up on anything very quickly.
Our second dog was Kayak. Kayak was very affectionate, also a good work ethic.
Kayak was a sparky little one from the get-go.
She was the biggest goober ever. She would give me this big happy dance every time I see her, or even if she just sees anybody she'll see, she'll just greet them with the happiest little tail.
She was very, very smart. When you compare Moon to Kayak, Kayak was quicker on catching certain concepts.
Around the end, we did have a few difficulties with her being scared of a few things, but she managed to get through that and she became a guide dog. So this is Flavia. She's my 4th guide dog puppy I've trained.
Is so far, I think, the best one we've had so far.
We're taking a different approach. In the past 3 dogs, it's been a family project. This particular project, our daughter Jasenia is actually taking the role as the primary. So we are filling in as a support team for her.
She looks just like Moon. She looks just like her. Definitely gonna break my heart a little bit, but she's just a sweet girl. She loves people. If she doesn't become a guide dog, I can see her doing something else in the service line.
I definitely think the connection makes them a more valuable tool for the blind to use to see, as opposed to anything else, like a cane or a walking stick or something like that.
Even people that aren't completely blind, but say they don't have peripheral vision, just a cane, it helps, but I already know so many dogs that have saved so many lives.
Because they form an attachment and they form a trusting relationship. Help them be their eyes wherever they're at.
Stories on people that have climbed crazy hikes, with their service dog, or have run marathons with their dog and have been able to live, a healthy, productive life and accomplish things that I think most of us tend to take for granted. And I think it's just an amazing part to be part of that little small wheel in the world and just, meet great people, look at the positive things in life.
One thing that we've instilled with our kids is that we're very fortunate to have what we have. And so community service, believe it or not, really helps bring families together and also helps to do things for others. And I think that's what this has done for us.
I feel like he's given her life back.
Having the dog with them brings out their abilities instead of really focusing on their disabilities.
The bonding was instantaneous.
My name is Nancy Pearson, and I am the founder, president, and CEO of PAWS is Loving Support Assistance Dogs, also known as PALS. PALS is a 501c3 nonprofit service dog organization located in Northern California. PAWS is Loving Support Assistance Dogs was founded in November of 2009, and the mission of our organization is to enhance the human-animal bond by providing service dogs to children, teens, and young adults who have autism, Down syndrome, mobility, or psychiatric impairments, just to name a few.
The organization that Helper is part of is Guide Dogs for the Blind and is located in San Rafael, California. And it's an organization that provides seeing eye dogs for individuals with visual impairment.
We also provide facility dogs to assist professionals working with children, teens, young adults who have special needs. We also provide courthouse dogs for the district attorney's offices. We have Miranda, who is at the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office, and we have Nalani down in the Santa Cruz District Attorney's Office. These dogs comfort and assist witnesses before, during, and after they testify during a trial. The dogs are even on the witness stand if needed.
We're considered puppy raisers for guide dogs for the blind. And as puppy raisers, we receive the puppies when they're 8 weeks old, and we keep them till they're 16 months old. And it's our responsibility to train the puppies with basic obedience, like sit, down, come, stay, good house behavior, and also socialize the puppies. So that they can go to the grocery store, go on outings, and then we gradually expose them to new experiences like riding in a car, going to the grocery store, having them walk loose on a leash, be responsive, having them sit still when we're talking with individuals, and appropriate greeting, as well as they go to work with us. And pretty much everywhere we go, they go, and it's basically teaching them socialization.
I own Austin and Nadia, and their job is to, I use them for two things. One of them is to help decrease anxiety, and sometimes I'd rather see the dog than me. And the other thing I use them for is because I'm trying to teach communication. If they want to touch my dog, like hug or kiss or brush them, they have to use that word or some word approximation. So I use them in that way too, to get functional communication.
Max has something called apraxia, which is a neurological disorder which prevents speech planning. And Max is very self-conscious about that. Casper helps him by doing just this, letting Max hang on him when he's trying to do something new that's kind of uncomfortable for him, and it helps keep Max calm, and he tries harder when he's calm and comfortable. So he puts a little more effort into his speech with Casper.
He does a visit, which is basically where he just puts his head in my lap. He does deep pressure therapy, which is where he puts pretty much all of his weight on my lap, and both those things just tend to calm me down a lot pretty fast. And then he braces me so that I can get up off the floor.
She is able to now be social with other people. Require less assistance during school and be able to sit through classes and not have to leave due to overstimulation. She's no longer medicated. She was medicated for anxiety. She's able to complete a full day of school. I don't get any more phone calls during the day. She's able to, has spent really no time in the wheelchair since she's had him.
So what's really, really rewarding for me by placing service dogs with children, teens, young adults who have disabilities is having the dog with them brings out their abilities instead of really focusing on their disabilities. Like Mariah May has visual impairments, cerebral palsy, she's on the autism spectrum, and she suffers from anxiety and depression. And once Bentley entered into her life, the transition was huge. Her parents have noticed a tremendous change in her. The way she is at school has really, really changed, and she has so many friends at school now because she has Bentley. Then we have Max, who has apraxia, and Casper helps him with his speech. And he also suffers from depression and anxiety out and about in the community because so many people can't understand what he's saying. And so Casper has helped him tremendously, and also his family. And then we have little Hazel, who received service dog Carrie 3 years ago. And at the time, she was pretty nonverbal. She would trade a picture of a sandwich to get a sandwich. Now, she just will not be quiet. She talks so very much, and that's because she had to learn how to tell Carrie what to do. She had to learn Carrie's commands, and that brought her out of her shell. So just the rewards in placing service dogs with these kids is tremendous. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
With fossil fuel consumption on the rise and environmental issues at an all-time high, it should be in our best interest to look for a presidential candidate that makes it one of, if not their, top priority.
Findings itself, what were the takeaways? What were the main pieces of information that made the most impact?
Well, I think it shows a pretty alarming, climate situation here in the U.S. We've had the information here is nothing new necessarily in terms of what we've known for years. It builds upon that. It takes it a little bit farther by showing us and emphasizing in this report compared to previous iterations that climate change is here right now. We're seeing its effects right now. This is not something that's just going to be happening in the future. It's already happening here. One example is in Miami, where there's nuisance flooding on sunny days.
In the first quarter of 2019, the EIA estimated that U.S. energy-related emissions totaled 1,367 million metric tons, which is nearly equal to those in the first quarter of 2018. A big percentage of everyday people don't know what activities influence carbon dioxide emissions, but a mediocre percentage know all about it and teach it. We interviewed one teacher, Mrs. Buechler, to get information about how others can learn and teach others about this unexplored topic.
I feel like the fossil fuel consumption is out of control. It's something that is sort of inevitable because human population is out of control. We have lots of people, they have to get places, and obviously they're going to drive cars and they're going to use lots of fossil fuels for all of their needs. It's just a resource that we need. But I feel like there are alternatives and we can do better. So myself, as much as I can, if I don't have to drive, I won't. So if I can walk, if I can bike instead of drive, I won't. But a lot of times I do have to drive. So if there's anything I can do to reduce my energy consumption and fossil fuel consumption, I will do that. The other thing that I try not to do is drive around, make lots of stops, try to make one stop, just simple things like that.
We interviewed Ms. Mackenzie Weiser, the CEO of Sacramento Splash, a nonprofit organization as well as a local environmental activist, to get insight on how she spreads awareness of fossil fuel consumption for children through fun science activities.
We are a watershed nonprofit, so we talk to students about the importance of clean water, and how we talk to them about fossil fuels is that there's often illegal dumping of oils down storm drains. There's a misconception that storm drains have filters on them, and actually that water is not treated. It runs directly to our rivers, creeks and streams, which eventually leads out to the ocean. So we let students know the importance of not illegally dumping and letting their families know not to dump oil down the drains. So for the past 7 years, I've been working as an appointee, working with Governor Jerry Brown on climate policy for state policies driven solely on cutting the use of fossil fuels. So for myself personally, it translates into me encouraging my family to walk to school. We ride bikes. We try to reduce the amount of vehicles that we travel in a car, utilizing gas. I'm also looking for candidates who have a plan to look at campaign finance reform as well, because they're kind of joined hand in hand.
While some may choose to drive less or even stick to walking and biking, many still wish to drive around. Many of these drivers are investing in the more recent and beneficial technology, electric cars. We talked to one of these many owners, Mr. Eric Leitster, to find out what exactly is so special about them.
I was very interested in electric vehicles and the overall positive impact they'll have on the environment, eventually replacing combustion engines. So my thoughts about gas emissions and the impact on our environment is that there are too many cars out there on the road around the world that are spewing waste into the air. These emissions are causing, I feel, environmental impacts in our overall temperature and weather changes. We really need to do something different, and I think electric vehicles are the way of the future.
So, you may ask, what do we want to see in a presidential candidate this 2020 election? We want a candidate that addresses and takes action against this fossil fuel crisis before time runs out and it's too late.
Here's yesterday's daily news out of New York. Flagged is the headline there. Niners quarterback
Headline
won't stand
after
for
headline,
anthem in
story
country
after story, we see new cases of police violence and brutality. In America, between 2015 and 2016, there were about 2,238 reported victims of police violence, with young people and people of color be disproportionately affected. As the years continue, police misconduct, especially in the case of police brutality and the use of excessive force, has continued to rise and become a major problem in America. But what is police brutality?
We are basically saying that the police officer used force that was more than necessary to accomplish a particular goal or outcome.
Police brutality, in simple words, is the use of excessive force and violence by U.S. police officers against civilians.
Excessive force can never be used, right? Because it's excessive. The law says we can use force that's reasonable, right, to effect arrest. The law gives us that duty, right? And so when it comes to that, as long as you use reasonable force and you're within your law enforcement agency's policy and the law as well as case law, then you're good.
As stated in California's legislative law, Title III, regarding criminal procedures, any peace officer who has reasonable cause to believe that the person to be arrested has committed a public offense may use objectively reasonable force to effect the arrest, to prevent escape, or to overcome resistance. But in most cases of police brutality, the force being used seems to be excessive compared to what we would believe is reasonable. Along with the topic of police brutality comes a topic of race and bias.
We recognize that we all have biases, right? Whether we consciously have them or subconsciously have them, that they're there, right? And part of that is recognizing that and treating everybody fairly.
Eric Gardner, an African-American man who died as a result of a New York PD officer's chokehold, is one of the victims of police brutality.
5 years ago, my beloved son Eric was murdered by people who were supposed to serve and protect. On July 17th, the NYPD police officers approached my son. One of them put him in an illegal chokehold. Eric cried out 11 times, "I can't breathe." 11 times he said, "I can't breathe." But those officers who were on the scene that day, they didn't seem to care. Eric died that day.
Black people in the U.S. account for 13% of the population. However, they account for 27% of police killings and 35% of police killings in which the victim is unarmed, with Hispanics and Latinos accounting for 21% of the police killings and 25% of police killings in which the victim is also unarmed. With more and more victims such as Stephen Clark, Michelle Shirley, and Michael Brown, social movements such as Black Lives Matter have risen to combat the violence and racism towards the Black community. This led us to question if race truly plays a factor in these cases of police brutality and violence.
It does. I think there are many studies out there that clearly show race to be a factor, whether it's a direct or indirect factor in police use of force, generally speaking, including excessive force or deadly force.
The person in Harlem who was selling cigarettes on the streets and got choked to death, died from a chokehold. The person in Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown was the name, I believe, that ended up being the victim of police brutality, ended up dying from it. There is a person in the backyard in Sacramento who was shot by police. That was a process that had to do with race. In each of those cases, it's always been race.
Our vision in 2020 is to have our presidential candidates address the issue of police misconduct and brutality during their campaigns.
The minute the president makes that kind of an announcement, all through his or her administration, there will be an understanding that we must at all times be sensitive to the potential, and we must do our best to train people to engage in conduct.
In order to fight the issue of police brutality, not only do we need background checks and specific police training, but both civilians and our police forces need to work and create a relationship within their communities.
And continuing those relationships with our community members, because in the end, that's where it's at. If we can communicate and trust each other, then that other stuff comes into play and we have peaceful outcomes. And so that's where I think training needs to continue to happen as it has been, but also that other piece of building the relationship and continuing to build the relationship with our community.
ECD is Engineering, Construction, and Design. It's a 3-year pathway that's designed to give students an opportunity to explore other options. One of the big pushes in the district is career and college readiness. And so we do a pretty good job on the college readiness, but we haven't done a great job on career readiness. And so this is what EC is about, is allow students to explore all the different varieties of ways that you can make a very, very good living. Students just come out with a more rounded approach to what really happens in the world.
I became an ECD teacher because I felt there was a growing need to give kids real opportunities to work within the economy and the society that exists today. There's no way that you're going to know as a freshman what you want to do with the rest of your life. It may be that you think, well, I like to take things apart, maybe I'll go into ECD. But I also want to take AP English or AP History. And I really, really want to learn how to cook. And I think that part of life is that a diverse array of talents that somebody possesses.
I think it's important for us as educators to be real about why we do this. Not only does it allow us to give authenticity, but it also gives us the ability to say the reason why we need to learn how to do this kind of writing is for this purpose on the business end of it or on the construction end of it or whatever it is. We want to make a connection to how that really affects them in the real world.
Everybody that runs gets to race.
Cross country is a sport where you run.
That's the most simplistic way to put it.
The races you do are 5Ks, which is 3.1 miles. Personally, I joined cross country to get in shape. So if you want to get in shape, you can join cross country.
I think someone should join cross country because it's definitely like a team aspect too and an individual type of sport.
Now you can play tennis or football or any other sport, and there's a starting team and there's people that hope to get into the mix. Cross country, everybody works out and gets to run.
It's definitely a team-based sport. For our practices, we mostly just run, but it's not just plain running. We do different types of runs, whether it be hills or short intervals or just long runs just off campus and just having a good time overall.
Soy la señora Heinzman y esta es mi historia.
At the beginning, Mrs. Heinzman's parents were immigrants that came to the U.S. She always wanted to be a teacher. Let's see how she did it.
When I was in college, I wanted to be a high school counselor. One of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I like making connections with students and people in general. And during that time, when I was in college, I did get I was substituting, and I got the opportunity to work with, students of different ages, anywhere from elementary, middle school, high school. And I realized that, at least for me, I felt like I could have a bigger connection with them if I actually worked in the classroom.
She was learning how to be a teacher. She was in my class, and just a very fun person, loves kids, she's very funny.
I like Ms. Heinzman as a teacher because she really builds a connection with the students, and she keeps her students motivated to always continue learning in the various levels of Spanish.
For Mrs. Heinzman, she wasn't just motivated when she was teaching, she was also motivated when she was a child.
I didn't have a lot of support at home. I think I'm one of those rare stories where the odds were against me. Both of my parents, say my dad, he never went to school, not even kindergarten, given that he didn't have the available resources to go to school. My mom only went up to the 3rd grade, and she had to drop out to care for her siblings, so all the odds were against me.
When you first start in teaching, and I saw her at her very beginning where she didn't know a whole lot, to where she's at now, her knowledge has grown by quite a lot.
The odds were against her, but she managed to pull through and reach her goal of getting her degree.
Thanks for tuning in for all the documentary finalist videos. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for our next category.